So I spent last week in Europe on my quarterly tour, traveling several countries, and the question kept arising in Copenhagen, in London, in Den Haag, in Rotterdam. The question was this: with the increasing rise of automation, what will become of the personal one-on-one relationship in business? Now, Wall Street and trading specifically is becoming very automated. Things like algorithms and wheels and all the things that you read about in the paper every day. Paper. But here's my point. As those things grow and the person on the other end of the route or the phone or whatever it may be, the screen, they're less and less valuable as an information provider. You've got everything you need. The larger the scale of the client, the more that's the case. However, what they don't have, any customer will always need and will always want, is insight. Insight is very different from information. Insight is information that only you can provide. How do you get that information that only you can provide? You get it by putting on your thinking cap, by partnering up with your client mentally, and by seeing the things that they don't spot to help them prepare for things they need to know. This means piecing together trends, spotting the connectivity between two different stories and things that may be disparate to you, but you realize, wait a minute, this is important, and here's how it applies to my client. The clients will come to turn to you for insight on things that they know you are good at. It might be something like market structure, but I'm not talking this is what happened. I'm talking this is what happened. This is the current feel of the zeitgeist, and this is where I think it's going, and here's why. And here's a good example of in the past when they did something similar. Oh, well, that's interesting. Now we're talking about history, right? This is basically piecing together the past to the future. That's one form of insight. Another form of insight is the sell-side business model is broken right now. That's not really insightful, we know that, but what's it going to become? Well, it turns out it's going to have to do with data analytics and other things. So, where does that evolve? I've got insights for you. I'll be talking about it next week. But here's my point. You want to not give your customer information they can get. It's a Google world. Information is worth zero. You want to give them insight that they come to trust and rely upon you for because you're right, because it makes sense, and because it's clearly in their interest the way you present it. That means partnering with them mentally. Partnering with them in a manner where they say, hey, can I get your thoughts on this? Let me get some feedback from you. Can I bounce something off of you because I know that this is something similar to what you were talking about at the other thing? This is insight. And this doesn't come from being a service person. This doesn't come from coverage. This doesn't come from doing the same thing that everybody else and all your competitor seats are doing. It comes from being you in bringing a unique value proposition. Same way you want your product to bring that, you are your own product now. This is it. This is where insight comes from. So this is on you. Now, back to the beginning of this, the interpersonal business relationship. It's completely predicated upon you and whether or not you bring any unique value to the chair. That means, will the relationships go away? Most likely. Will yours? Well, now that's completely up to you. They may if you don't bring the value, but they may not. In fact, they won't if you are a uniquely valuable person who brings something that insightful that they need. And I mean the word need. Something they want. This is not information that they can get. This is something that they need and will contact you for it. That's when you know you've got a relationship. That's when you know your relationship is not going anywhere. And people like that in any business, finance or otherwise, that can create that type of interdependency of partnership and reliability with a trust factor underneath, they will always be in demand and they will always be paid and they will always drive the relationships because the customers will want it. Not the business, not you, it's the customer's going to come after you. That's when you know you've got a relationship-based business. And that is the future of relationships. So, what happens to the future of business relationships? It's completely up to you. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what happens to relationships. It matters what happens to you and the value level that you are bringing. Give that some thought.